Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so if you've ever tried to create content, you know the absolute ultimate frustration, right? Video editing. Today, we're diving into a tool called Cutrova, and we're going to look at how fixing just one massive universal friction point completely changes how we edit, and honestly, how it redefines the whole idea of local-first software. It's this incredible case study in building software that actually empowers you, instead of just locking you in. So if you've ever felt completely bogged down by editing software, you're definitely going to want to pay close attention to this.
So let's start here. Think about the absolute worst part of making a video. If you've ever tried producing anything, you know exactly what I mean. It's almost never the recording itself, is it? Setting up the camera, checking the lights, actually talking into the mic, that's usually the easy part. The real barrier, the thing that literally stops most people from ever hitting publish and sharing their knowledge, happens entirely after you turn the camera off. But what is that specific, universal friction?
Well, it's the timeline. Seriously, the timeline is where good footage goes to wait, and often where it goes to die. Think about it, the endless scrubbing back and forth, the constant keyframing, dragging those tiny little digital blocks around, hunting for that exact microscopic frame where a sentence ends just so you can snip out a stray breath. The whole traditional editing interface kind of assumes you already know how to be a pro editor, and that assumption quietly but very effectively excludes almost everyone else from participating in video creation.
And that's exactly what Cutrova fixes. The old, painful method, the timeline way, forces you to scrub and hunt for frames. But the Cutrova way operates on one really brilliant thesis. If you can edit a text document, you can edit a video. It's that simple. You just read a transcript, delete a sentence you don't like, and boom, the software makes a gapless cut in the footage automatically. No scrubbing, no keyframes. This instantly lowers the skill floor. Suddenly, founders making product demos or teachers recording lessons don't need to hire a specialized editor. The exact same gestures you use to write an email are literally all you need to edit your video. And because you possess the text, the workflow completely changes. From just one single recording, you can mechanically generate a whole suite of outputs. We're talking full product demos, caption tutorials, audio and video podcasts with ready-made promo clips, vertical social shorts with that cool karaoke-style highlighting, perfectly trimmed webinars, the whole shebang. Stripping out filler words or dead air, you just hit the backspace key. You can even fix a flubbed word by typing the correct text and letting the software overdub it. It's basically giving you studio-grade output without actually needing an entire studio or a dedicated team. Now, to be fair, text-based editing isn't a brand new concept, but Cutrova takes a pretty radical detour here. It is deliberately local first. Let's compare this to your standard cloud-native editors. First, privacy. Your unreleased or NDA-protected footage, it literally never leaves your computer. Zero cloud risk. Second, speed. There are no massive gigabyte uploads to wait for before you can even start working, and no waiting to download the final file. And cost? You're not being metered or billed per minute by some cloud provider for your daily editing. Even if your internet connection completely drops, your work keeps going. You own the compute. But wait, what about all those fancy AI features everyone's talking about right now? Things like translation or generative dubbing? Well, Cutrova has a very deliberate stance on this. Cloud AI is a key-in-hand option. It is absolutely not an always-on dependency. The crucial point here is that while those heavy AI features are totally available, they are strictly opt-in. You use your own API keys. You only reach for the cloud when you deliberately choose to, which protects both your private data and your wallet. The local, text-based score, the transcription, the cleanup, the captions, it all works flawlessly offline from day one. Okay, but a local app is only half the battle, right? For a long time, Cutrova had a bit of an embarrassing problem. The local application worked beautifully, but it didn't really exist on the web. The domain just served an empty page. And let's be real, to the rest of the world, a real product with no public face just isn't a product. So they had to transition through three critical steps: perfecting that local core, building the public face, and finally deploying that reality to a live server for everyone to see. So how did they actually build that public face? Instead of reaching for heavy, bloated web frameworks, they focused on deliberate brand tokens. They went with this deep plum wine surface, cream text for easy reading, a coral color for action buttons, and these really beautiful frances and interfonts. But honestly, the absolute best part is the landing page itself. It's static, it's tracker-free, and it uses inline CSS. The hero section is actually an in-browser HTML and CSS mockup of the editor. It immediately demonstrates that whole delete text, cut video idea the exact second you land on the page. You don't have to click a single thing to understand what the product does. It truly shows instead of just telling. Now, marketing pages are one thing, But legal pages? That's another beast entirely. Especially since the site is run out of Germany, where legal text obligations are incredibly strict. And that brings us to this fascinating concept of being byte identical. See, when they were restyling the website to this new dark brand, the legal wording couldn't change at all, because in law, a cosmetic restyle cannot alter the meaning. Being byte identical means strictly preserving every single legally significant character, spacing, and punctuation mark, exactly as it was.
We're talking about some really high-stakes elements here. Strict legal notices under German law, GDPR privacy policies, physical addresses, special characters like the German sh, and even specific curly typographic quotes. Getting a statute reference even slightly wrong is a massive liability. So to handle this, they used a super interesting verify first workflow. Basically, they restyled the pages and then ran an automated adversarial check that diffed the new pages against the old ones word for word. The machine did the typing and the comparing, but a human decided what correct meant. And they refused to approve anything until that diff came back byte identical and 100% legally compliant.
And then, of course, came deployment. The unglamorous proof that it actually works and is live. Launching always comes with honest frictions, and there is a massive contrast between being shipped and being finished. On the shipped side, you've got a live FTPS deployment, properly get ignored credentials, perfect HTTP 200 checks across every single URL. But is it finished? Well, not quite. There are missing mailboxes to set up, lawyer reviews of templates still pending, missing sitemaps, and you know what? That is perfectly okay. Deploying a secure, working site is a massive victory in itself, even if admin tasks are still on the to-do list. Shipped and finished are just simply not the same word.
So, looking at the big picture, this entire project acts as a sort of Trojan horse. Beneath the surface of just being a simple video editor, it actually teaches us something profound about software today. Work in the medium you actually understand, own what you make, and spend your judgment on what to cut. By giving you a simple, intuitive tool, Cutrova demonstrates that constantly renting our core capabilities from the cloud is kind of this quiet form of fragility. It's really about taking back control. Control of your compute, your data, and focusing your human judgment entirely on the creative process, rather than constantly fighting with the tool itself. Cutrova absolutely proves that when you actually own your tools and simplify the interface to match the skills you already have, the barriers to creation just melt away. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. If you stopped renting your core capabilities today, what could you build tomorrow? Seriously, think about how much friction in your own daily workflows comes from renting tools that assume you have skills you don't actually need or that hold your private data hostage in the cloud. Hopefully this inspires you to take a step back, rethink your own tool stack, and take true ownership of your creative processes. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep building.